Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. So today we've been flying around Pochven, and the reason for this is, again, I'm always trying to find different ways of making ISK. Some of them work, some of them don't, and again it's about just prodding and poking at things that I can find decent amounts of profit. And today we've loaded up a prowler with a cloak, and we have taken a trip, as I said, to Pochven, and that is to see what we can buy off the loyalty point store from Pochven. And the nice thing here is that you get access to a lot of the trig stuff in the loyalty point store, and this can be then taken back and sold. Now you need a few bits and bobs. You need some of the navigational logs in order to be able to do this. And see here, I've loaded as many as I could physically fit in my ship, and then basically what I'm looking at here is the entropic radiation heat sinks for the Triglavian ships. Now these are relatively cheap. They cost 150 of the navigation logs, which comes out at 255,000, and then obviously you've got the fee there of 500,000, so we're looking at about 725,000 ISK per unit. And on the market these sell for 1.2 million ISK, so an easy markup of about 500k each. So I'm buying as many as I possibly can with all the navigational logs. Now my cargo hold for the ship is relatively limited because it is a cloaky DST, so it does struggle for space, but again I've got a good number here, and I think in the end I end up with 604. So yeah, so just buying me extra here. So with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them back to ISK, and I am going to manufacture. And the reason for this is obviously decent amount of profit, and I can do this in kind of scale. Now one of the issues is these are one run BPCs, which is semi-annoying. But obviously I have a good number of characters and can just obviously stack these up over 4 or 5 different characters and get these producing in mass. So now I've got as many as I can physically carry, it's time to go back to ISK. Now I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the filaments here. I'm a bit woolly on it myself, but some take you closer to specific places in ISK where there were incursions. Some take you slightly further away, etc. All I know is the ones I use kind of get me to where I want, but I don't know really the ins and outs. You have to either know it or look on the internet. I'm sure there's lots there. So I've undocked. I'm trying to find something that is in line so I can pretty much get to it as soon as possible. I've cloaked and basically getting ready to jump. Now I had forgotten, which will become very apparent in a minute, so I check the D scan to make sure there's nothing really on scan. I've got the wrong setting here, so change it over to combat because I want to see ships and combat scanners and everything else. Nothing really going on. Great. Check my cargo to make sure it's in there. Get me filament. Drop my cloak and can't activate it. I'm a bit confused at this moment. I'm like, and something comes through the gate. So I'm like, oops, better cloak. Now this is because I have an aggression timer, and you can't activate a filament with an aggression timer on. So yeah, so I cloak up quickly, check to see there's nothing going on, see a couple of others. I won't say I panic, but it's like, ooh, what's going on? Have I been spotted? So start aligning out to the sun just in the off chance I need to make a quick escape, because obviously I am relatively close to the gate, and we can see here all of a sudden there's a fraternity gang turns up in shuttles and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. Now I'm not 100% sure what they were up to, but it did spook me a little. So pull open the D scanner again as Crusader, having a little look down, making sure again nothing particularly outrageous, and then again more fraternity. So at this point, as I say, I'm like, well, I'm cloaked, pretty sure nobody's seen me, or if they did they can't get to me, or I'm not that interesting, so just going to stay here cloaked and watch them. And yeah, there's a good number of things start coming through, so they are definitely going somewhere to do something. We've got zealots, damnations, all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. I don't know whether they're doing something in Pochven specifically or whatnot, but it was kind of fun just watching them do their thing. So my timer has now run out, and I am ready to go after the first misstep. So pull up the cargo, get me filament ready. Come on, get it ready. No, make sure I'm still aligned to something just in the off chance. Drop cloak, and there we go. It's quick and as easy as that. As soon as I realised what my initial mistake was. So this brings us back into the forge area, pretty much. I'm in low sec, so I'm a little bit like, yeah, could have been better. But again, these filaments were cheap, which is all I need. I'm in a cloaky DST, so I'm not particularly worried. Now, one of the things I did make a mistake with is, you see the cargo expanders. Now, I needed the cargo expanders on the way there because I needed the extra space to carry the navigational logs. However, I don't need the cargo expanders on the way back, so I should have had inertia stabilizers to get my warp time down, because at the moment I think it's 5.06 seconds. I do have one in the cargo hold, and I do stop in timer just to put that on. But again, yeah, it's a bit of a mistake here that I should have already have had them on. But as it's a cloaky ship, it's not really that much of a problem. But again, it does mean that I am risking more than I generally need to. Again, you could probably get it down to a 3-second warp time with inertias and the rest of it. So yeah, slight mistake, but either way. So at this point we warp to Talma, we get into Talma, I fit out the iStab, that I've got in the cargo hold, and then we carry on to Jitter. Now I was going to go to Jitter, I decided to go to Perimeter instead because I wanted it the quicker build times in Perimeter. Now these take 7.5 minutes to make, so, and in Perimeter I think it's 5 minutes 25, so not a huge amount between it, but considering I've got 604 to make, I wanted it obviously to be a little bit quicker. So here we are in Perimeter at the Stoya, and I'm just docking up now. Make sure that I'm safely inside. At this point everything is good and I'm not particularly worried. So what I need to do now is get the blueprints into one of my hangars, ready to get them built. Now, ordinarily I had the option, so I say, to take these to Jitter and build them in Jitter. Now the installation cost is negligible for installing a lot of the Triglavian stuff, so again I've chose Perimeter because of the quicker build time, and I think in total I needed 16 million ISKs worth of materials to build the 604 entropics, so I didn't need a great deal of materials. Now if it had been a bigger material logistical problem, then I probably would have just built them in Jitter so I didn't have to move things around, but for such a small amount of minerals it really isn't that much of an issue just to ferry stuff from Jitter to here for the slightly faster build times. So now that we've gone and been doing this for a little while, it's become blatantly obvious that it just doesn't work for me, and I kind of thought this might be the case initially when I started, that having the one run BPC, it's too time consuming. And initially I thought, well, I've got 5.5 minutes in between each batch, which will give me a decent amount of time to do something. And the reality is it hasn't worked quite like that, because it takes about 30 seconds per character to install. Now I've got 3-4 characters, it's 2 minutes, which only gives me 3.5 minutes in between. And that's assuming everything installs quickly and efficiently. And yeah, a couple of minutes in between each batch round isn't a great deal of fun. And again, I could have made the same amount of this that I'm making doing something more interesting, and this unfortunately hasn't really turned out as it's given me the profit I expected, but it's been more time consuming. And again, I could use these for some invention instead, and I might go that route, we'll see, but without trying it I don't know, and I kind of assumed that it would be problematic, and it is turning out to be as problematic as I thought it would be. But this is why I try a lot of things out, and again, kind of works sometimes when you're doing it at small scale, but when you start trying to expand it into larger scales, it kind of falls over on itself. And this is why being a larger producer, being a larger producer can be problematic at times, because again, if you were just doing 10 of these at a time, I would have 5 minutes in between each batch, but because I'm trying to do them in mass and as quickly as possible, it's turning out to be slower and more painful. So I think we'll leave it there for this installment. I hope that was interesting. I hope you learned something. Again, there's still good amounts of this to be made in Pochven, whether it's just buying stuff and ferrying it back. I won't be doing any video for a week or two. Diablo 2 Resurrection comes out in the next day or two, and I will be sinking quite a lot of time into that, I imagine. A bit of a Diablo fan, especially Diablo 2. So I may post a video or two on Diablo if anyone's interested, but EVE content will be a bit slow for the next fortnight or so I do apologise in advance. And with that, thanks for your time, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.